It says this meeting is being live streamed. By staying this meeting, you consent to being live streamed. Setting up your.
We are on YouTube. We're live right now.
All right, cool.
I believe.
Maybe.
Let's find out if that's actually happening.
Yes, we are live.
Yeah, it looks like we are live. I think we're live.
Yep, believe so.
Is anyone here? I can't tell. No, there's nobody in here.
7 watching now. Started streaming less than a minute ago.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone type something in the chat if you can see this. Oh, yeah. Great. Hey, Liel, sorry about that.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just having a look at the main stream page because something went wrong with the back end of that page. So
I don't know what happened.
Just watch chat like everyone else. Oh, I can pop out the chat. That's right. And then I can just get the other window smaller.
We don't know what's going on, so we're just trying to fix it.
Yeah, we're using this thing where you can send the stream straight through Zoom, but it's a little odd. And now I need obviously the cameras are messed up, so let me try to get that reset. You need to share your screen.
So I need to share my screen.
Streamlabs back up.
Okay, hopefully the resolution is better this time.
I don't need a full screen. Stop. Okay.
I have turned it on, but I can't tell what it looks like from my end.
Resolution is better. That is what we love to hear. You are free to stick around with comments like that. Supportive feedback.
That is super helpful. Oh my gosh. That's good.
Okay, let me try to fix her cameras here. I've got to unlock these.
This stream, we planned it for an hour to an hour and a half. So like if you need to grab a snack or something, you can do that. Oh my gosh, that is so good to hear that this works. You guys don't know what we've been through the last 3 hours.
This is all we've been doing.
We've just been here this whole time trying to make audio work and then video work. There's like, yeah.
You know, it's one of those, we'll get there an hour and a half early. That'll be enough.
I thought that was fine, but no, it was not fine.
Okay, let me. Oh no, that's right. I need to lock it up. I keep messing with it.
I know you guys want to see Clint's drawing, but you're looking at mine right now, so he'll share in a bit. But you have to bear with us for. I don't know how you're gonna sort out your screen share.
Why don't you take Zoom window? This one. Okay, this one is not scaled correctly.
Have another channel or something on there. Or scene. I don't know what these things are called. I realize that this is being broadcast and I sound like a total dunce who doesn't know anything about live streaming, but I don't.
I can make that bigger, but oh, hang on. It has crop filters on it. That's why it's looking weird. No, I'll just do it the other way.
So in the meantime, while Clint is tinkering, if anyone has any questions about the contest or anything that they would like to talk about or ask, that would be super. We can start addressing some things.
Yes, illustration, character design, concept art, that stuff is good.
Otherwise, I'll just explain what we're looking at on screen.
Also, I'd love to hear if anybody's making something for the contest.
That would be interesting to hear. If anyone is making something, working on something, we would like to know. So basically we, I know there's four classes of characters that were suggested, or rather not suggested, but specifically requested for the contest. So we decided not to do any of those for obvious reasons. So we just did different ones, but in kind of the same vein as the ones that we're asking for in the contest. So I did the medieval cook, and Clint is doing medieval fantasy cobbler. So we'll show those to you in a moment and explain kind of what we've been doing here. But I'll check on the chat before it gets away from me here. So
I almost got that. Okay.
Awesome Zim. I don't know if I said that correctly. You said in a challenge video that characters do not have to or shouldn't have dynamic lighting, but is rim light or soft rim light acceptable? Would it be treated negatively? I wouldn't treat it negatively.
No, I wouldn't. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't just get so fancy with the lighting that like parts of it were getting really blown out or getting so dark you couldn't make it out. I just want to make sure that the focus is on the character. But yeah, some soft lighting, like well illuminated shadow with some edge lighting. I mean, that's really common for character illustrations. That's fine.
Oh, there's your answer. I'm sorry, I'm bringing up the YouTube screen here.
Medieval fantasy include magic? Sure. Yeah, you can have some sort of magical aspect to it.
Can I still participate if I have only worked a bit as a freelance artist in the past? I'm currently not working as an artist.
Yeah, as long as no more than 50% of your annual income is coming from some sort of illustration or drawing income, then we're considering you know, open to entering. I just don't want a working full-time professional, competing against basically students and amateurs who are still trying to improve.
Oh, that is cool. Mihail, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name properly. Hey guys, I'm working on the master cartographer. That is really cool because I don't think a lot of people are working on the master cartographer, so that's really cool. How do you know Clint? We worked together for a while on classes and educational material for Sin Studio since I don't know, it's been 1.5 years, I guess. I heard Clint say everything is a gradient in a video, but I can't remember which. Can he elaborate on that? Also, I'm working on the cartographer. Cool. I don't know what that means. What does everything is a gradient mean?
Oh yeah, I've said that a couple of times. And it is just the recognition that colors are never static, and that a color is always transitioning to being lighter or darker, warmer or cooler, or from hue to hue, or saturated, like less saturated and more saturated. And if you start recognizing that and implementing more gradients, so like if it's top to bottom on a character, maybe even if you just have, rando character standing here, then the top is going to be lighter and then the bottom is going to be darker, right? And you're going to have that shade. And so you've got that gradient. But every form, especially any, roundish form, is going to have a gradient. Even if it's fairly evenly lit, like the part receiving most of the light might be warmer, but the part further away from the light, you might do cooler. And if you start seeing things that way, it keeps you from having very flat tones on everything. And one of the primary reasons that a lot of images do come off flat is because they're not incorporating gradients. And gradients are also a great way to keep the eye moving. around a scene, a lot of flat tones. Or just very even colors. Just the eye just sticks on them and doesn't have a sense of flow. Yeah. Is the Pie Lady an entry? I think that one's for you.
The Pie Lady. No, this Pie Lady is just a Pie Lady. I drew yesterday. Started sketching out. It's kind of just, we both did kind of little example sketches to show what is an approach to this contest. Obviously, we're not entering our own drawings. That would be silly, but we're just showing kind of how we would tackle an assignment like this, or kind of what we would come up with. It's really nothing serious, just a bit of fun. But let me see. I'll answer a couple of questions here, and then I'll just explain kind of what was done here in this Pie Lady drawing. And David is asking, I have a question for Clint. Do you still offer portfolio reviews on Swirl?
I'm not currently checking Swirl. I might get back to that now soon, but no, not currently. That's not something I'm doing right now. But I will probably be making a post within the next month or so that's really going to outline better what swatches we'll be doing, what I will be offering, what swatches we'll be offering. And I mean, you got here late, you didn't miss anything. We had to take a tech break and just got started again. Yeah, so we're going to be having some more art contests coming out. Art challenges. I'm going to be offering some different classes on various subjects for different skill levels. And I'm going to start offering some reviews and the mentorship times again. So stay tuned. I'll let you know that. I'm just trying not to do everything all at once. Just ease back into it a little bit. Can I put some instruments on the floor or around the character, or does everything have to be on the character? No, there can be an odd and end thing, around the character. It's like, I've got my cobbler here. Something like this would be acceptable. That is primarily about the cobbler, but the cobbler really does need a couple of things with them to sell who this character is. So, I have him sitting on a stool, and then he has his shoe stand here. And that's fine. What I don't want to do is like have the counter of shoes, back here behind him. I don't necessarily even need to add, a second character or an animal or something like that. So if you have your character.
Are you actually sharing the cobbler? Because I don't see it.
You don't see it? I see it on my Streamlabs.
I'm not seeing
On the stream?
it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it on the stream.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm only seeing my Pie Lady.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay, then it is not capturing out of Streamlabs.
Oh dear.
Huh.
We can't see the cobbler. Yeah.
No, all it's doing is sending what? Okay, no, it's literally just sending.
How about I stop screen sharing and use screen share, and then that should work, yeah?
Let's try it just to see what that gives us. I thought it was
Okay.
pulling the information from Streamlabs.
Okay, try again now.
Photoshop. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, now it's working, I believe. I don't know. Can anyone confirm?
Well, there probably is a 10-second delay on. Yeah, there's about a 10-second delay between edits I make back here and actual YouTube.
Oh, okay, great. Now it's working.
lower that quality though, because I don't need it to be streaming back to me in HD. Okay. All right, so for now, maybe that's what we'll have to do is we'll just have to swap between them until I figure out
that's what Jules says. We have to take turns.
Okay, we'll just do that then. All right, and then I don't have to worry about this and my way. So yeah, this is where we are with the cobbler. So just kind of catching you guys up about where these characters are. Oh, now I'm getting a severe lag. Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, that's super laggy. Well, do I even need Streamlabs open then if it's not capturing?
I don't think so.
I tech support here. No, you don't need to share Streamlabs.
Okay.
You can close it.
Yeah. Thank you,
It's like
tech support.
Like the voice of an angel just appeared.
See if that doesn't
It helps.
save me some processing power. Oh, all of a sudden my computer acts like it's not trying to carry a horse on its back. Okay, sweet. So yeah, this stream, we just wanted to mess around with some fun characters that, like she said, are in the same vein as what the challenge is. But we didn't want to do those characters since we don't want to influence what you guys are doing. So we wanted to pick just similar kind of NPC characters, your everyday kind of characters. So obviously she went with the cook, and I'm working with a cobbler, shoemaker. And so, yeah, let me kind of walk you through where we started with this, and then I'll start, doing some new sketches. So version 1, yep. Sometimes I like to start kind of cartoony with my early sketches because it just, in my mind, allows me to just keep it really simple. And so I had in my mind that he'd be like holding some of his instruments and stuff, but I wasn't really sure what tools a cobbler used or how to convey what a cobbler looks like. So I did go out and did a couple of quick Google searches and looked at some images, enough for me to just have an idea. Then I went back here and I kind of sketched this. And usually a cobbler has the shoe mounted on, a shoe stand, cobbler shoe stand. And I like that idea. A lot of times they are sitting down, like properly sitting down the whole way. And I didn't really want that. It would just make it too short. Too much of it would get compressed visually. So I did see on some that they kind of had like a high stool. So I like that idea. So I just sketched out a basic pose of, okay, he's going to be sitting on a high stool. One leg will be up more. He's got a tall stand, and he'll be doing that. And I kind of wanted just an older guy. And so I was playing around with whether he'd be like kind of a gentleman looking guy with his hair pulled back, or some kind of funny looking guy with a cap coming down on the sides, or like a bigger genial fellow. Then went and found some more references and took some webcam references, which allowed me to generate this. Just trying to hash out the basic pose and shapes going on. I'll show you some of the main references that I'm working with here. I do want to, okay, lots of comments. Man, guys, thank you so much for showing up for the live stream. Have not live streamed on the channel in about a year, and it's really nice to see everybody showing up. Seriously. Okay, so many questions. Sweet. I do want to pause and look at some of these questions. Let me stop sharing, and then you can draw while I answer a couple of these questions. And then I'll get back to explaining.
Who, me?
Yes.
All right. Let me just.
Oh, Nope.
that, and I'll screen share this. And then you can address the chat. And then if you want to, I can kind of explain my early stages after your early stages.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Okay, working on the botanist apprentice. Hope you get it done by the deadline. Neato, that'd be great. Glad you're doing a piece. Actually, I think that the botanist apprentice is the most common one. Awesome Sism. I don't know. I have the feeling the master cartographer. I think we've had one entry so far of the cartographer. How much does dynamic pose and expression matter in illustration contest? I'm doing a character understanding pose with expression and attributes will more. It doesn't need to be that dynamic. What we're talking about is an everyday pose. Like you just saw my cobbler. He's just leaning over doing his work. Diana's cook, she just dropped something. She's surprised. It could just be simple as somebody just kind of standing there. But you do want to add a little bit, like the simplest thing that you can do is just have like the body twisting, like they're turning to look the other direction. That's an easy thing to do. There's a lot of, there's so many photo packs out there. Just look for models and standing poses. It doesn't need to be, it's not a splash image. They don't need to be leaping through the air, doing something crazy.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay. Can I get your brushes somewhere? Afraid not. I don't use that many fancy brushes. On this one, I think I've only used the normal Photoshop round brush. Yeah. Hey, Hobbit, good to see you. Can't stay, but glad to hear. Well, glad to have you drop by. Yeah, no, you're not dreaming. There is a live stream. Will standing more static poses be viewed as worse than dynamic or expressive? Well, we just don't want like a T pose, right? We don't need a orthogonal T pose and like a cookie cutter cutout. But yeah, just an everyday pose of them holding something, looking at something, carrying something, anything like that. I know the background has to be white, but can we add a bunch of accessories to the character like the cobbler has in a limited number? If you can add a limited number of accessories, if it is very integral to the character, right? So you could easily have the farmer have a bucket next to him with some vegetables in it, or a bag of potatoes that he's, you know, just fixed. So something like that in order to really help convey what it is. But aside from that, there shouldn't be many things. You do still want to keep it pretty tight. You don't want things that make it really wide, because printing wise, that really limits their options of how it'd be used. What is happening in your professional career? How is Blizzard? Blizzard was good. I recently stepped away from the position because I've got a move coming up, and so I had to step away from the job. But it was great. Learned a lot of good stuff. Worked with a great team, and jumping back into doing some freelance and Swatches stuff. Okay, I think that is most of the comments. So how are you feeling about yours? Do you want to run through the creation of yours, or you want me to keep going with mine?
I might just quickly stop to explain it, just for
Okay.
anyone that wants to see. So you may note that on the left, there's all these random pictures of things that I thought were relevant. My little ref board, it's a small ref board. Obviously, I recommend having more references than that. But they're mostly in here. And then there's this, lady with her mouth open for obvious reasons. But I'll show you some earlier stages of the drawing. So when I started, I just kind of started with an idea, which was about, oh, there are the legs, if you're wondering. I always try to make sure that the legs fit under the big skirt if there's a big skirt. But yeah, I think this was my earlier one, or I'm not sure if this was my earliest one. That was my earliest one. So you can kind of see that it's really just a gesture that kind of, I didn't have a lot of reference really or anything. I was just throwing down an idea that I wanted a big kind of husky woman dropping a pie, like a meat pie, an old British meat pie, and all these birds coming out of the pie, like the 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie. That was kind of the idea. So all the birds are coming out of the pie and she's just kind of flipping out with surprise. And so that is what I started with. And then I basically kind of refined that over top a little bit more, referenced it a little bit more, kind of sorted out the anatomy better, the position of the hands and the arms and the feet. And so honestly, a little more dynamic than I would normally draw it. I just thought it was a fun character and it wouldn't be that fun if I just drew a cook standing there. So that was kind of why I went a little bit further. And then I cleaned that up a little bit more into this, followed by another version, which is this one here. And then I've just been cleaning up my lines to where I can, kind of start roughing in some colors. And I just threw these in here to kind of see if it would work or how it looked, to kind of, get the general feel for it. It's really messy, but it's just to get an idea of kind of where I want to take it when I do a clean version. So sometimes I would just screenshot these if I'm doing them like this and put them to the side. So I have those little rough color thumbnails as I'm working through it and making improvements. But so at this point, I'm just making a cleaner version of this here. I'm working on the face a little bit more with my line weight. So that's kind of where it is.
Now, would you say that this is a fairly standard way that you would approach a character illustration?
An illustration? Yeah. A character design, I wouldn't really approach like this, like a concept. I would do not so dynamic a pose. I would focus way more on costume and design elements, really ironing all those things out. And I really wouldn't be like, this is just a different thing where I'm playing it a little bit looser in terms of design. Yeah, it's more about the feeling of it, the sentiment of it, I guess, than all the little design elements. But anyway, I can stop screen sharing. You can switch over to yours if you want to show people kind of what's going on with the cobbler.
Yeah, okay. There we go. Should be getting back to that. How to paint nice crystals. I've had a hard time keeping balance of clearness and realism and local reflection and refraction on a crystal made character. Oh yeah, it's like, man, if you're doing a single crystal, that's not too bad, but having to do an entire character made out of it does get more complicated. I would suggest trying to go out and look at like simple games, even like Hearthstone, and how they illustrate crystals. Pinterest also has some good simple crystal painting tutorials, and the idea that basically basically you have your shape, and you've got to get the gradient inside of that to give the sense of the light. So you have your color, and if the light's coming from the upper right, then you've got to have your glow on the bottom left to indicate that, you know, the light's transitioning through it. And then you can come on top of that and you can put in your you know, your flares from the different facets, and it's going to start picking up, and an acute angle is going to pick up more like a mirror, so you can have like some of your blues and stuff doing like this sort of thing. Maybe that one can even be getting like darker on the edge. All right, so you kind of have to have that sort of thing going on where the light is coming in on the top, and that's where you get your bright highlight is up here. Oh, that's inside of the mask. And then you have the bloom inside on the opposite side where the light comes down and it pulls in this part of the crystal. And then you put another layer on top of that, and that's where you do the outside facets of where the light is, you know, catching at an angle. I was wondering if magic items and items created by a blacksmith is okay or considered as tech. No, those are fine. That's perfectly within fantasy medieval. Would you mind telling us how a day in Blizzard as higher up in the art industry looks, or at least what are most common things to do for such position? Well, I guess it largely depends on what I can speak from my position, give you a little broad information. So I was essentially working as what you normally consider the art director. They're the name is art supervisor. The art director is the one who directs the whole direction for the art for the game. So I was art supervisor, but as you know, I was the one that worked with the design team and the other art director and came up with what the briefs should be. You know, I was the one that was contacting the illustrators, asking them, you know, when they had availability and sending them the briefs, and then they would send me the sketches. So if you've ever done freelance illustration, I was just on the other side of that equation where I was the art director in that situation. And, you know, on a daily basis, I'm just having projects, commissions at each stage. So I'm working to create new briefs to send out. And I've got briefs that are in progress. So I'm receiving sketches of early sketches of some, I'm receiving finals of others. Then with Hearthstone, what we do is, you know, the brief would, the sketch would come in at whatever stage, whatever the submission is. And then I would look at it, but then we would all have to look at it in the group. So I would send it in, and then each of the other supervisors would all be able to add comments in the program. Then I collate all those comments. I figure out which ones are the best, which ones are the most applicable for the direction for this piece. Then I send that feedback back to the artist. Then there was a bunch of other stuff, just having to look at like budgeting stuff and how many images are coming down the pipe and implementing this stuff into their system. And there was a bunch of that sort of thing too. Let's see. You have a twin brother. Good for you. I hope you like each other. A lot of artists are using 3D character base meshes these days to get pose and perspective right. Is there a specific base mesh you are using, or having you added that to your workflow? I have just downloaded Blender and the DAZ, and just started picking up some tutorials and some models for both of those. So it is not yet part of my workflow, but that is something I'm meaning to do. Yeah, Diana and I've both been talking about this and about how to bring that into being part of our workflows. So hopefully I can speak on that to a greater degree, like towards the end of the year, maybe. But yes,
it was not a part, I don't think, of either of our processes for the bulk of our time making artwork, but now we're definitely seeing the advantages of it. I still think it doesn't really work for everything.
No.
And like I actually think for things like this, for what we're doing, it's really like here right now, it's not that useful, honestly. If we were doing some kind of crazy lighting setup, then maybe, right? But
yeah, well, and that's what we've looked at, is there are some things that it is far faster to do it, far more effective to do it with Blender and DAZ, especially if I was trying to set up a complicated scene that had like buildings in the background and foreshortening and stuff. It takes ages to run all the accurate perspective on some of that stuff. And so that I would, but for like something like this, the amount of time it would take me to get the right doll and to pose the doll and to try to get all the right clothes and fit it to the character. I mean, I can just draw it, or I could take a webcam reference. But it is definitely, it's a staple approach to doing a certain kind of illustration in the industry now. And so I do think people need to start learning how to do that.
it is I think if properly integrated, from what I've seen with other people, that it can provide a really stable, reliable workflow.
Yeah.
And this, I've just, again, it's not like a huge part or really a part of my process, but I want it to be. It's going to be. But from just talking to other artists and some of our instructors at the school that use it regularly, it does make for a very stable, reliable, predictable workflow. It's a lot less sorting things out manually, or trying to figure out perspective, very specific angles of people and things and everything together in one scene, especially the more complex the scene is.
Yep, 100%. Should we try to stay historically accurate to the time, or are we allowed to compromise a bit with fantasy regarding the clothes? Yeah, I mean, it could be a fantastical, group of people. They could have different clothing styles. And we're trying to not have what you consider, modern clothing. It probably shouldn't be zippers, that sort of thing. I'm doing a buttoness. I want my character to be standing on an object and want a plant coming from the ground that would be interacting with her. Yeah, just try to keep the amount of the scene smaller, but maybe she's like standing on a stool in order to, see the top of this tall flower. Something like that would be okay. Does anyone have good website to buy reference packs? There's a lot of reference packs available on ArtStation. It depends on subject matter, but like if you need characters, people, poses, ArtStation, CubeBrush, Gumroad probably all have them. Some of the best ones seem to be from, let's see, we found some really good ones with graphite and sateen. So sateen and graphite probably put out the best quality, most useful people referenced costume ones. And I usually just buy them through ArtStation. If you need environments, I would go to what's his name? Photobash.org.
Well, there's that one. There's also a digital Nomad.
Mhm.
Who else has a lot of those environment ones? Well, there's really some exceptional ones, which I believe are from Graphics for like medieval villages and things like that. Really, really good. So they don't have just people, they also have environment stuff and architectural stuff. So I recommend looking at that. Yeah, Satine has probably the best people, really high level costumes that look really good up close. Yeah, that's about all I can think of right now. There is mappaint.org. I'm not sure if it's .com or .org. And those are really high res photos for map painting, photo bashing environments.
She was.
But you do have to pay for a subscription. I'm sorry, I have to step out for just a moment to close the door.
Can you give me your Instagram so I can send it? Oh, okay. You guys talk to each other. Okay. So yeah, just kind of running you through where I was with the cobbler. Let me show you the photos. So the easiest way for me to find a photo was just do a webcam photo. So I shot that. If you can set up a photo to do it this way, then do try to get, as close as you can. Like I took just a second to grab my boot and a hammer. Just the more accurate you can get, the better. And after I shot that, I was like, wait a minute, I have a medieval shirt that I picked up at the Renaissance Fair. So I shot another one like this. Now this is going to give me so much information. I'm not going to have to just spitball all these folds, and that is going to save a lot of time. So that is going to be my main clothing pose reference right there. And then I just wanted a couple of old guy faces. And I Googled around and I found these. The one on the left has like the angle and the overall feel that I really liked. But the one on the right, I did like his nose being like a little more rounded on the end. And he has a bit of a larger chin. I kind of like that too. So I was going to go with both of those as the main inspiration for the references. And then Rockwell is also, I think, a reference as far as just like illustration. And you've got that. And I pulled up an old painting of a medieval cobbler to see kind of what were they wearing and how are they doing their job. So taking into account they almost all have this leather apron. And some of them have the leather apron that goes all the way down, and some of them have the cloth apron that goes over the leather apron there. So that's kind of just context, making sure it looks like a cobbler. I found this dude with this hat. I'm like, sure, that's fun. I kind of like that. I could put that hat on him. So those are my references. And I wanted to start with just the pose first, try to get the layout. And then after that, I refined it. So you can kind of see how it gets refined. He was a little too young, a little too healthy. He was bulked out a little bit. And so I wanted to really play up the hunch. This is a guy that's been doing it a really long time. I wanted more of the hunch to his back. His arms are a little thinner. His legs are a little thinner. And then started working on this, and then I just have each part. I did a refine to this one. So you see that I just roughed in kind of the new pose, the face a little bit, the hat a little bit, and then I just come through each one and start refining it. So I drew the face, basically taking in the angle that I'm at and angle this old guy's at, and then some features from this one. And then adding that sort of hat onto him. and just doing the hands on one layer. I was thinking about adding a necktie. I'll need to redo that if I do though. Clothing layer. And then the shoe forms, I'm going to add some shoe forms here. So like this box, I did find a reference that had this box in it. At the bottom, the shoe stand goes down to this box. But I wanted to show how some of the wooden shoe forms. I don't have any references on here of those, but I'm going to hang those off of a crossbar. So I just invented a crossbar that would go there, that would put some of those on. And yeah, just going through and just kind of cleaning this up. Who needs graphite when you have Clint reference? Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. How would you approach painting a really big beard, stylizing it, or would you try to follow real life refs? You definitely want to look at some real life refs for a beard. I mean, there's particular ways that the hair angles that the hair comes out, how far it comes up into the cheeks, which way does it bend, you know, the hair flow. And people have very different shapes. Some people's beards kind of split in the middle and they almost come off, you know, two different sides. Some people have very long in the front. But then I would just start taking a look at reference and think about it in terms of larger blocks. You want to think about it in terms of either, you know, one big unit, or if it's, you know, got 3 big braids in it, and you want to think about those as units. But you don't want to early on start thinking about it as like individual hairs. What do you think about using other artists' art as pose reference? I mean, I'm not entirely for or against it. And that's because nobody has a copyright on poses. What I would be careful of is, one, just being ended up like copying their scene. Like if you want to use you know, a confident pose, kind of a Superman arms to the side, you know, pose, arm, you know, hands on the hip thing, then sure, and as long as you're just not doing Superman, I mean, you can apply that to about anybody you want. That's just a fairly standard pose. But don't have like the same kind of character in the same pose, you know, same environment. I don't know, any thoughts, Diana, about like reusing poses or pose inspiration? Because I mean, you're not going to think of a pose that nobody's ever
pose
done
inspiration. Pose inspiration is fine, but I would never just swipe a pose exactly as is.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, I just wouldn't, because I don't know. I mean, it's a fine line with taking inspiration. To me, there's a clear line between taking inspiration and plagiarism. Inspiration is fun, but I would always try to change it in some way.
Yeah, adjust the angle, or, you know, place the camera higher or lower, or turn the character a little bit, or give a bend to the character, or just you yourself go stand in that same pose and photograph that. By nature, you're not going to be exactly the same.
Yeah, that's always preferable than just grabbing the same exact pose, copying it.
Mm-hmm. Trying to figure out where that. Well, the thing is, I don't want this leg to get too high, or it's going to interfere with the silhouette of that shoe, but I guess it could be pretty close to what I have in that photo. Seems maybe not quite that much, something like that. It's just that leg was not looking long enough, so I am trying to stretch it out a little bit. Something that feels a little more natural. Hey Glenn, any advice on dealing with rejection? I'm a freelance artist, and it has recently been so difficult for me to find work consistent. We'll get back to you. It's just a matter of time. Kipling asked, how do you deal with rejection? Well, we just had a a webinar on having a portfolio, doing portfolio, illustration portfolio. And I mean, one of the things to say in that is one of the most important things is quality, and quality sells. And people will make room for higher quality, usually, not in every case. Quality is the issue. If you're getting rejected, it's usually an issue of needing to brush up on some of your skills. If you get a rejection here or there, I'm not, it wouldn't really concern me, because it could be something like they just are full up on artists. They don't have budget, to bring somebody else on. They may be locked in a contract with somebody else, right? But if this is more of a consistent thing, then I feel like the best thing you need to do is determine exactly what it is that is sending that flag up for them to reject. And then that's what needs to be addressed. So make sure you're trying to learn where the sticking point is, and figure out how to address that. And rejection is just hard, especially with your art. Any thoughts on, you've gone out and had a look for projects? I mean, any thoughts, Dinah?
Well, it is a painful thing, dealing with rejection. It's always painful because you want something and someone's telling you no, basically. But the best way to deal with it is not to get overly sad about it. I've been rejected for gigs many times. If you get sad about it, then you just kind of get paralyzed. And the worst thing you can do is not analyze or take action and just give up or keep reapplying with the same stuff, which is, to me, is like giving up. So the best thing to do, instead of feeling bad about it or feeling inadequate, or that, the best thing to actually progress is think like this. If I do something to improve my skills every day, even if it's a small thing, I'm progressing forward away from where I am right now, which is getting me rejected, right? So the best thing for you is to take action and analyze your work as if you were a stranger looking at it for the first time, and think, okay, what really sticks out here that's not good, that needs to be better. If you are not capable of doing that, then you need to find someone to give you feedback, to give you a portfolio review, to give you that information. You need that information, even if it stings, because then you know what to work on, what to address, which pieces you need to replace or improve in your portfolio. It's a painful thing, but if you really want to get hired, if you want to move forward, then you have to do that self-analysis on yourself, or ask for help from someone else, a reviewer, and then address those issues, right? The things that are not optimal, that need improvement, you need to fix those. You need to create new pieces where those issues aren't addressed, and then try again. And this is like the story of all of us, right? And there was a very excellent blog post. I cannot find it now. I was trying to find it for the longest time, from I think I mentioned this one to you, Clint, that Victor Damme wrote some time ago, some years ago. And it was about his journey to magic, in a sense. His goal was to be a magic artist. He really, really wanted that. And so he started from the ground up, from no gigs, amateur work, to eventually making a portfolio that got him hired by Magic. But there were several portfolios in between that first one and the one that got him hired. And it took him quite a while to make that jump, like I think a couple of years. But he basically kept bringing those improved portfolios to the reviewers and saying, hey, look at my work. Can you tell me if it's good enough or what do I need to work on? And then he would just, every time he got feedback, he would create a new piece where he addressed those issues. And then eventually he did get hired. So this is a painful road, right? It's not easy. And anyone that's been a freelance illustrator or wants to be one, like this is just a road that you have to go down. Am I right or am I not right?
No, I completely agree with you. The more feedback that you can get from outside of yourself, I would say is usually the better. If it's good feedback from an expert source, because we do have a tendency to not notice the blind spots in our work. So, and we're talking about it in that class. It's just like maybe you're putting the wrong images in your portfolio. Maybe it's just you're having bad image selection. You're putting in there images that you like, but don't have any bearing for you to get hired in that position. Maybe your perspective is off and you don't even recognize it, but they can recognize it. Or the subject matter is too limited, or, there's all kinds of things that when we're in the middle of it, we don't really notice what's wrong with it. We don't notice where the gaps are. So, if you can get sometimes even peer review can let you know. But if you can get feedback from them, or if somebody rejects it, if you could very courteously to say, hey, thank you so much for getting back to me and letting me know that. Would you mind giving me any feedback on what I can do to improve, my portfolio that would, increase my chances, at a later date, something like that. For the contest, can we add other objects to help sell the fantasy aspect of the character, or is it purely the character? Okay, this is about the 12th time we've got this question. Try to limit the number of things around them. Ideally, there doesn't need to be any. It could just be a standalone character. You can just sell it by their costume. We don't really need stuff around them. We're holding this like a D&D or Pathfinder illustration. Go out there, look at those, see how they set those up. That's what you want to do. Shoot. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. I'll just immortalize my boot here in this illustration. Oh, okay, so these, I'm just going to paint out some of this vector mask. No, I don't need a vector mask. Just
Really
need
do
an
sympathize.
idea.
I sympathize with anyone struggling, honestly. Oh my gosh. If you get a rejection letter, that's not even bad. The worst is when they just ghost you.
Yes, that
They
is the most
don't say
common.
anything at all. They're just like, no, we're not even answering this. And then you don't even know, what you did wrong. There's no feedback. So I sympathize for sure. I remember when I started getting hired, I had received so many rejections that I was just like, are you sure? Really? You want to hire me? What? Oh, couldn't even believe it.
Participants can now see your application. I assumed that they could see my application before that, but thank you,
One would
computer.
hope.
Do you have any tips on breaking out a practice compulsion habit without fearing you'll forget the current studies? Are you talking about just doing studies and not doing bigger pieces? Yeah, can you clarify that? I'm not sure what you mean by practice compulsion habit. Okay. I feel like I mean, the bench isn't that important, but I just feel like I need to put something there. And I figure he's probably got an old pillow. Sticking out here, something like that. What's the first thing you look for when it comes to a good character and storytelling? I think one of the first things I would look at on a good character is, do I understand the character? That is a terrible tangent, that running right off the corner of his clothes. Hang on. Move that in a little bit. Good character and storytelling. I guess I would start with just the fundamentals of, does it have, believable anatomy, proportions? Does it make sense? Can I look at it and understand what I'm looking at? And do I buy it? Does it seem consistent to itself? Then you kind of go to just the gut reaction of, do I like it? I don't know, you design characters, Diana. What makes a good character?
Oh gosh.
It's kind of broad.
It's not just one thing, right? It's well, first, like with anything, you look at the fundamentals, right? So you want to see if the anatomy is good, if it's, competently done, cleanly done. Then you look at, do I understand what is going on, what this is supposed to be? If it's trying to be too many things, like it's trying to be a werewolf, vampire, cobbler, elf at the same time, that might be confusing, right? So things like that. And then you look at design. What is the detail to rest area ratio, right? Solid areas to detail. Does it have big, medium, small elements? Is there anything interesting about the design that's still understandable, but just interesting, a little element of the unexpected, something that we haven't seen before. Like, not too many of those elements though. Like, mostly it has to be something that we have seen before so that we can understand it and interpret it. and connect with it. But then it can't be the most boring version of that thing. It's like if we're going to draw, you know, a firefighter, it can't be the most boring generic firefighter with just simple clothes. And, you know, it can't be like a children's drawing. It has to be elevated, has to be, you know, like an interesting design on the jacket, something cool colors, some weathering, some personality, scruffy hair, 5 o'clock shadow, things like that, that add elements that we can interpret as a viewer about the character. So yeah, there's like a combination of things. It's not just one thing, but the fundamentals are the things that everybody looks at first. Like, what are the proportions? How's the anatomy? Is it drawn cleanly? You know, those are number one. And then if it's rendered, you know, how well is it rendered? Are the materials rendered well? If it's got photo bashing, is that done well? Is that incorporated well? So first thing, you look at the fundamentals and the technical aspects. And then if those aspects are solid, then you judge the design. But that's why, you know, Clint and I generally, for our students, generally say, like, focus on making it competent and professional, even if it's on the simple side. It's not the craziest design that ever was. It's just better to get those core elements correct than go off the charts with creativity when you have shaky fundamentals. So yeah, it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah, that's kind of why we wanted to do this subject for this challenge. We just wanted to pick simple characters, you know, fairly NPC, straightforward characters, because the tendency is just to go overboard with creativity and originality and just put all this kind of random stuff and deep backstories that nobody's going to get. And I mean, you say it a lot to your students, and is like, just do a simple thing well. Just do the simple character well. Let's start there. If you can't do that, you're not going to do a fancy character well. You're not going to do this elaborate creative thing well. And there is also a skill involved with the maturity that it takes to do a simple thing well. How would you say this? Like, I feel like there's a certain amount of restraint that you have to show when you're not just getting to do anything that you want, and you're just doing something good and simple. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can evaluate someone's judgment based on the choices they make on the design and what they choose to prioritize, right? So you can definitely determine if someone is a good communicator, if they're prioritizing the purpose of the character, or if they're just doing it randomly as they go.
Sorry, I was off for like 2 minutes. Could someone tell me, or even you, Clint, about that email? I don't want to miss stream. Which email were we talking
Which
about?
email?
I don't know. Joaquin. Oh, you have to go? Well, thanks for coming by, man. Appreciate it. Do you guys recommend a website or somewhere to have feedbacks on a portfolio, hopefully by a professional? If not, it's okay. I mean, I do sometimes plug art-mentor.com. You can schedule an hour consult out there. You can go out there right now and look at it and see that there is no times available. But at some point I will open up some times, and I mean, that's where I offer them. Otherwise, you might be able to try to go find anyone that does mentorships, and they may be open to it. You guys do it with Sin Studios as part of the diploma program. You get a portfolio review. But
Yeah, there's a few ways we do it. Like we do it like that, but if you do it like that, you kind of have to wait till October.
yeah,
Which is when yeah, the admissions process starts for diploma. The other way is there's the activity pass at the school that I think is available now for summer. If you buy an activity pass, there's a bunch of things in their webinars and some of our lectures, and then also there's a portfolio review with a concept artist from one of the big Montreal studios. I don't know who it is because they rotate. There's different ones every season. The other thing you can do is, you know, if you don't want to do that, which I understand, you can always look for, like Clint mentioned, a mentor or someone offering mentorships and just see if they'll give you a little one-on-one time. If they have that available, usually you have to pay. But it's worth it to get really that insight on what you need to do. It's better than just trying to guess. Like,
mm-hmm.
And I don't get anything out of this. I'm just saying that it was really a game changer for me was my mentorship that I did years ago with an artist that I really admired a lot. And so, yeah, I spent about, I don't know if it was 8 or 10 weeks with him weekly one-on-ones, and it made like a huge difference. So I recommend that. And if, you know, go to a person, choose the mentor that is doing things that you want to do, right? That's doing a similar style or the type of gigs that you want to do. And then go to their website, see if they're offering mentorships or if they've got a Patreon or something like that. If yes, you know, go through that route, send them, you know, a polite email or what have you. If not, if they're not openly offering or, like, you know, obviously advertising it, you can always just send them an email that says, hey, I really love your work. If you have any kind of availability for a one-on-one meeting, I would really like to get some review or some feedback on my portfolio, like a portfolio review from you. You know, what's your hourly rate, kind of thing like that. The worst they can do is ignore you, in which case you can just find another artist and try again. I definitely wouldn't insist if they ignore you or if they say, no, thanks, I'm not available. Just thank them for their time and move on. But there's lots of people out there that might be a good fit, you know, that have a similar art style to what you're aiming for, and that will give you some time and tell you, hey, you need to work on this, and that.
Do offer them some money.
Yes.
Right.
That's why I said, what's your hourly rate? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that people don't do is most people will not offer any cash. And even if you can't really pay what their time is worth, the fact that you're willing to pay something is going to make you stand out from a lot of the other students who just have requests for free stuff, you know. So make sure you're doing that, and that's going to make you more serious to them.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious if you know if What's the Art Drop email is still working, because I found many contradicting information. Sorry to spam, I'm not trying to write that much. I don't know. It's been over a decade since I've used that email address. I don't know if that's still active, if that's how they do it anymore. Just don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not.
I think it's still working.
Is it?
As well, up until like a month ago. I haven't checked in the last 4 or 5 weeks, but yeah.
I mean, what I do know, when I was up there, again, this was years ago, but it's like they meet like once a month, the different art directors, to look at what was submitted. So I don't think they check it on any kind of daily basis. Yeah. And I doubt they send feedback. I can't imagine that they send feedback to everyone that submits.
No. I would say no.
I don't know that I'm really liking his sleeve. It's just looking a little janky to me. I just want to simplify it. Yeah, I was looking at this one. I mean, I think just the simpler curve there is probably visually better. That's why I just want to break away from my photo. It's like in my photo, we've got like all of these shapes going on, and it's just not a very good flow to it. So on mine, I'm feeling like maybe it's better to just try to simplify that, to get more of that, just playing into that hunched shape. How do you guys handle imposter syndrome and pressure working professionally early on? I worked in a hospital for a while, and any work done was never enough there. Is it similar in art? Well, I mean, for me, I definitely felt imposter syndrome for a long time. And as far as I know, about everyone does. When you start making that transition from like amateur to pro, that is, you're getting paid as your job to do illustration, you feel like you're just being an imposter. Like, what am I doing here? Why am I getting paid to do this? I don't know what I'm doing. And that's just comes with experience. It's just the more that you are there, the more that you do, the more you feel like you belong there. It feels more natural. And also, I think when you're not spinning your wheels on everything, for me, I think once I started getting a better workflow and I was getting more steady results from my work, I definitely felt more professional. I worked in a hospital for a while, and any work done was enough. There is similar in art. I don't find that the case. I find that if you fulfill the brief, that's usually enough. But on that line, that could play into what kind of clients you have. If you're taking lower budget clients, in my experience, lower budget clients often are not as good with directing artists and generally request a lot more changes, and they don't really know what they want, so they have to go through a lot more revisions to arrive at a result that they're happy with. And so you could feel like you're not doing well there, but sometimes it is from the art direction side. What about you, Diana? How do you think about the imposter syndrome?
Oh, I don't think about it like that. I mean, I don't think about it in terms of I'm an imposter, shouldn't be doing this. I think about it in terms of like a ladder, and I'm just not at the top of the ladder. So I feel like there's kind of a hierarchy in terms of like what you mentioned a lot in your lectures at the school, where how big is your net, how big is your skill set, what fish can you catch, kind of thing. And to me, it's like I've always been acutely aware at different times of what fish I could actually catch in terms of jobs, what my skills could actually, what I could pull off successfully. And I always just kind of skated around there. I never really tried or applied for jobs that I knew were too big for me. Because I always felt like that's the worst thing that could happen to me is actually getting hired to do that.
I think there's a lot of sense from that. Yeah.
Yeah,
shows a
I
lot
just
of-
stay
yeah.
away and be like, no. This is I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but I've seen some people just aiming kind of out of their league.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's good to be ambitious, but just imagine what happens if you actually manage to score that gig that is way too big for you. It's not something that I want. That doesn't make me feel like an imposter because I can't do all those big gigs or because I stay away from them. It just means like I'm happy playing in the kiddie pool, right, in the shallow end of what I consider to be my skill set, what I'm happy with. If I ever want to go swim over there, then yeah, that means, probably picking up some more Blender, spending some more time doing different kinds of exercises to grow those skills. It's not like I'm afraid of that. It's really just what can I manage with the time I have? And for anyone that's working full time, it's really hard. Now I work for the school. I spend basically all my time working for the school. So I have to, and I don't really do freelance anymore. I haven't done that for several years. But if I were to get back into it now, I'd have to kind of prioritize, okay, what jobs can I get with the skills I have right now? Do I really want those jobs over there? Okay, well, that means that I have to pick up skills that I can rely on to pull those off well, those jobs. So I don't feel like an imposter. I think you feel like an imposter if you're doing a job that's too big for you. Yeah, then I would feel like an imposter for sure. Because it would be true. Right. I think sometimes people feel like imposters when they shouldn't, because they're not imposters. They have the skills to do the job that they're working on. But sometimes people feel like imposters because they are imposters. Like in the
They
sense like
shouldn't have had that job. Yeah.
yeah, if you're working on a gig that you cannot pull off successfully that is too big for your skill set, yeah, I mean, technically I would say that makes you an imposter and you feel like that for a reason. But if you're not, if you're doing a job that you do have the skills for, then people feel like that kind of insecurity about their work. That's normal. Everybody feels that way about their work. But feeling like an imposter, like this is when people talk about imposter syndrome. I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about you don't like your work? That's, join the club. None of us always feel like it's not good enough. Fine. But feeling like an imposter means you feel like a fraud, like you shouldn't be doing the thing you're doing. And to me, I mean, if you feel like that, either you really think poorly of yourself and your skills, or there's something to it, right? Maybe the gig you're working on is too big for you and that's why you feel like that. I'm not saying that that's the case for anyone here, or I'm just talking from my personal
It
experience.
probably totally is though.
It's no, like it has happened when I have bitten off more than I can chew and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should not be here, right? And I'm just trying to make a piece of work that's acceptable at that stage. But yeah, I mean, that's my opinion. Is it controversial to say that? I don't know, maybe it is.
That's something good to me. I'm just having two legs stool for now. I'll figure out the other ones.
Oh, this is a good one. If you color him a nice pastel orange color, you could call him the peach cobbler. It's a comment. Okay, I'm reading a comment from B. Gill. I didn't come up
That
with
is
that one.
so clever. Okay.
Oh, see, look, I can't look at my work objectively. I only see problems or maybe I do see it objectively and it really is only a compilation of problems. Oh my gosh. It's probably not only problems. I mean, you're looking at a piece of work that was done with intent. I doubt it's just a compilation of problems. Here's something that my mentor taught me. When you have a piece and you have a lot of issues with it,
Well, start over.
there's that. There's two options. You can throw it away and start over, which I'd say if it's more than 50% flawed, then just keep it like as a thumbnail in the corner of your canvas so you can just look at it to avoid repeating the same problems. But one thing that you can do is, yeah, like if more than half of it is problems, is incorrect, there's no point in trying to save the patient. You just start over. Like if there's really structural issues with everything, you need to start over. But if it's not 50% wrong, then what I would do with my mentor was put a layer on top of everything, right? Assuming you're doing this in Photoshop, put a layer on top of everything, very top, and then grab like just color red with the brush and start circling the issues and put numbers on them for which ones are the most urgent to resolve. So for us, number one would always be the face, right? If the face was bad on the character, usually there were character pieces. If the face was bad, that was like the big priority to fix. So we put number one on that. And then number two would be like the hands, which are also really unforgiving, right? You can't have bad hands on character. So we would circle all the problem areas, and then we would just go one by one and try to resolve them the very best that we could do. So start with the face, and I wouldn't move on from the face to anything else until the face looked decent, at least looked passable, looked good. And then I'd go on the hands, and I wouldn't get off the hands until the hands were good. And I would go all over the picture, right? But one problem at a time. And then by the time you get to problem number 12, assuming hopefully there are not more than, half a dozen issues to resolve. If there's more than a dozen issues, you got a problem. But
that's a different problem.
That's the whole thing is a problem at that stage. But you get to like the end, let's say 10 or 12, and your whole picture would be resolved. It would be miles better than when you started it and all you could see were all the problems at once, right? You have to break it down and take one issue at a time. Otherwise you just get overwhelmed, right? Then it's like everything in the picture and you're jumping around trying to chicken scratch this and going over here and trying to lasso tool that and fix that and control T this, and there's just problems everywhere. It's better to circle problems on one layer, number them by, order of urgency or importance, and then go one by one, and don't jump to another problem until you resolve the one you're on. And then, go one by one. And that's a helpful way to at least address some of this so that you don't just drown looking at it and you don't know where to go on the picture. I'm sorry, that turned into like kind of a huge monologue.
No, but having a ordered approach and being able to stay focused when there's a lot of stuff to have to take care of is good. And being able to identify what the next step is and just consistently, kind of calmly stepping through it, very important. Diana has good self-awareness. I can't look at my work objectively. I only see problems. What is the biggest job of work you can land only based on quality of your work? Obviously, for a position like art director, you have to have experience in industry. Yeah, you pretty much need experience being an art director. But the biggest job you can get based only on your work, about anything. I mean, you could do, marketing piece for the newest Fortnite probably, or, some AAA, Final Fantasy or Call of Duty, poster, or you could get a major publishing deal to do the next Sanderson book cover or something. Thousands and thousands of dollars, project. I figure that's actually what most of us do. Let's just pick stuff up that way. Yeah, definitely enough to make a living, and yeah, you could get big projects that way. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing sort of a Rockwell lighting on this, that he has a way of getting good form and color, but almost no shadows. And he does that by putting the light source basically like a camera flash, where it's just offset from where your lens or eyeball is. And that means that most of the shadows are really thin just on the side of an object. And if you can do that, we are familiar with that lighting and we accept that as being realistic. And it's enough to tell you form. And so basically looking at how it creates cast shadows and the strongest occlusion shadows, and even occlusion shadows not as much. And so that's why I'm just doing a pass to start with and coming in here and just putting in thin cast shadows, mainly on the left side, assuming the light's kind of on the upper right or just above the camera to the right. And then I can come in and all my other tones can basically be in the midtones. And then I don't have to do that much shading with the overall with all the other materials and stuff. And I will just let this shadow pass do most of the heavy lifting as far as creating the form and shadows. I feel like we probably need to jump over to yours. I don't even know what's going on with yours right now.
Oh, I got distracted just blabbing, and I haven't drawn a whole lot, but I can show you if you guys want to check it out. I'm really just cleaning up my lines. I don't have a ton of reference for this exact thing, this drapery element, so I'm just really freestyling it at this point. And yeah, freestyling the shoes. All the things I don't recommend doing is what I'm doing.
Yeah, we're just having fun today. We're not going to finish these on stream. We're not going to take that many hours. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. So just to let everyone, know this is I wouldn't normally do this for a project like this. I would get a lot more reference and get probably the exact pose. But for this one, for the stream, it's just a bit of fun, so we're just sketching things out without too much concern for precision. I do have another layer here with my birds, which I also would need to clean up and draw. I'm not a big bird drawer, so would need to reference that. Were there whisks in medieval times? I don't know. There's a whisk in here.
Yeah, I think so.
Just the whisk is fun, right?
I mean, they had brooms, essentially the same thing. You would just get sticks and then you'd stick something between them to fan them out.
That makes sense. I'm going to try to, kind of add some design elements in here so that this isn't so boring up top. So I may just try to do that without making it overly designy. There, perhaps. And kind of taking some of these elements from the reference here which were like this, I believe. I'm getting in there. Sort out some of that embroidery. I'll get closer to it and add a little something extra, right? And see if that, how does that look? Does it look a bit weird? Not exactly what I wanted. So yeah, I just try different things out. But I know that I can't leave it like that because it's just too simple, right? So what happens a lot of times, students will just leave a costume like that, just bland. And it's not really a good idea to leave it with nothing. Maybe even a bit of this in here. And maybe something more like this with some kind of decoration going like that.
Okay.
Which
looks
I have to, I have to sort this out. And then I don't know if meat cleaver belts existed, but
Oh, this is where fantasy comes in. We don't have to be worried,
yeah,
really.
I'm gonna add
not.
a meat cleaver. And the reason I'm doing this is just, okay, a real cook might not have so many things on. Okay, because this one has a pouch, some tassels, a spoon, a whisk, holding a pie with a bunch of birds coming out. There's a lot going on, right? But if I don't add those things, it's just going to be really dull and really extra generic with nothing, nothing interesting going on. So I have to do something to kind of give it an extra edge. She's got a patch here on the apron. I might add another one over here. Something like that. I gave her a bandage. Anyone that's cooking every day probably has at least one bandage on with a big medieval kitchen. There's some when in doubt, straps.
Yes.
Always straps. Some more straps. Never hurt anybody. So it's something that I can kind of say what would work in there. Do I want it to go over her belly? Might be interesting to kind of break up the apron. It's something I can try. The pie shape is a real medieval pie shape.
That is a real medieval pie shape you got there.
It is a real medieval pie shape. It's like a meat pie. And from what I understand, because I have watched the, Bake Off, the British Bake Off, you can only make this pie with lard. So that's just an interesting fact about this pie. I've never made this. Yeah, I wouldn't like a lot of lard, apparently.
So something to remember.
Yeah, it's just for everyone who's interested in baking medieval pie. Now you know. Yeah, I mean, I could add some lasers, just coming up like that. It's getting a bit sci-fi at that stage. We want to keep it more medieval fantasy than sci-fi. So yeah, my line art is very slow, not like Clint, who's like super speedy. Good stuff.
I don't know that that's true.
And by the way, another thing, like my students often, I'm just going to throw some gray in here to check my silhouette. Another thing my students frequently don't realize until I tell them, until they come to the school and they spend some time with me and with the other instructors, is how long this really takes to do. Like, these things are not done quickly. So you have to give yourself time. Like, you sit down and you tinker with an idea for an hour, and then you're like, why does it suck? Well, I haven't spent enough time on it yet.
I heard somewhere that as artists, I should travel a bit and go to conventions, but are there conventions for game card cover artists? Most current art cons are focused on modern art. I think you probably want to be looking for more like Comic Cons, fantasy cons. I don't know what conventions you're going to that have modern art. So yeah, you want to look at things like Dragon Con and the big Comic Con. There's a lot
Gen
of
Con.
Gen Con. There's a lot of game conventions where it's like board games. I went to one. I forgot what it was called. But yeah, it was just like board games, card games, RPG games, like the little miniature characters, Warhammer sort of stuff. Those could be good places as well to go out to some of those. What, in both of your opinions, would constitute a complete character concept portfolio that one would need to build before applying to studios, specifically in the video game industry? For a character concept portfolio, I'll toss out a couple of ideas, but I think it's more of your realm, since that's pretty much what you teach. You need enough images for one, and you need to have some good turnarounds of the characters to show them, front, side, back, that sort of thing. And so you teach the concept art portfolio. What's the highlights from that? What would you put into it?
Well, I'm really not loving this here. Yeah, technically, there's certain things that you do expect to see, which is a minimum amount of pieces, right? Like, you can't have too few. Just two characters. One character is not going to cut it. Usually the studios, at least the ones we deal with mostly in Montreal, the AAA studios, want to see a variety of characters.
Variety, consistency.
Yes, consistency. One. So they want to see, usable characters too, not something so bizarre that it would have no utility. But you can see here, I'm kind of messing with my silhouette now because line work is all fine and good, but it has to work in the silhouette. They want to see consistency. They want to see that you have fundamental skills, like we mentioned earlier. Anatomy has to be right. Proportion has to be right. Presentation, nice and clean. Demonstration of your skill set. Really, that's what it's all about, right? So they want to see usually hero characters. At least one female, one male hero type, physique. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look at any Assassin's Creed game. And then if you have other, body types, ages, that's a plus. Contemporary characters is also something that's really, really useful to studios. If you have some just regular people, not necessarily, all fantasy or all, sci-fi is kind of iffy. I always recommend my students stay away from sci-fi, just because it's hard. It's hard for junior artists to pull off, and it's not something that recruiters typically care about anyways, because they don't really hire juniors to work on sci-fi projects much. So yeah, things that are usable, quality, consistency, not like a few characters looking really good and then, you know, a couple looking really bad, just like lose the bad ones. Yeah, things like that. So I'm kind of just checking my silhouette now to make sure that I didn't get too caught up in my lines. And didn't, you know, because you can kind of lose your gesture, right, when you're focusing on the line work.
So what's up with the contest? This is the first I've heard of it. So, good question. I guess we can do that now that people are actually in the stream. So yeah, this is the mid-contest stream. It is ongoing. Swatches, myself, have teamed up with Cine Studio, which is the concept art school that Diana is the instructor and dean of studies for. They are based out of Montreal. And yeah, we just wanted to do a contest. This is free for anybody to enter global. And you go check out our announcement video, which is the last video here on the channel. And we break down the whole thing there. But essentially, we give you 4 different characters to choose from. And like these 2 characters, it's just going to be blank background and just the character. And illustrate those, send it into the link that's provided, and you can have a chance to win one of the top 3 places. First place gets an activity pass from Cine Studios. I'll let you explain that in a minute. They also get a Huion drawing tablet.
I actually know which one it is now. If I have it right here in front of me. So it is the WH1409. So
cool.
Yeah, if you Google that or check it on Amazon, you'll see what kind it is. So it has buttons on screen. It's quite a large size. So it's the activity pass, the tablet. Do you want to continue? What does first prize get?
They also get a hour consult with Diana and myself, where we can go over whatever questions you have. Probably go over, we could do a portfolio review. We could give you advice on what classes maybe you need to work on, strengths and weaknesses with your stuff, whatever you want. You would set the agenda for that. And my brush is set to color, and that's why it's not doing what I want. And I will also be giving what we'll call a golden ticket, which is just a ticket to get into an upcoming art challenge of your choice without needing to pay. So we will have some of those coming up on the channel later this year. And second place will also get a consult with both of us, plus the ticket for the upcoming challenge. And third place will just have the entry to a future challenge. Of course, on those challenges, you will also get feedback from me. It will be limited because it's spread across a lot of people, but that is part of that. And yeah, that's the basic challenge. You've got until May the 29th. Yeah, because we changed it to the Sunday. May the 29th at noon, I believe, in order to complete that. Yep.
I will explain.
Yes, that.
Do you want to switch the screen share?
Yeah, I'll switch,
back.
back to mine. I'm putting in some color now, so they might.
Oh wow! Okay, you're like way ahead of me. You are way ahead. So the activity pass is really just like a season pass to all the things that we have going on at the school outside of classes. So our full-time registered students usually get all these things included in their class package. But if you don't want to take a class, or you're just not interested in it right now, and you're curious about the school, curious about what we're doing there, this might be a good or interesting option for you. So the activity pass that we're offering for this contest is for the summer term. So it'll be all the events we have going on in the summer at the school, and they're usually weekly-ish. So we have a portfolio building lecture on concept art portfolio with me, one that's illustration focused with Clint. Those are two separate events. And then there's a webinar with Lois Van Barl happening in September.
You do
that's
want to be in that
included-
one. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be on stylization. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Specifically, how to look at a reference and then stylize. And then there'll be a portfolio review session with a concept artist from one of the Montreal studios. And there will also be two social events. One is an art jam, which is where all the students and activity pass holders get together and they're given prompts and they work on they make artwork for a mock project, a mock video game concept. And so they all work together and produce artwork during the course of the evening. And then everybody shares what they came up with at the end. I do believe that they have coaches too that are professional concept artists. Again, from the Montreal studio scene, which is where we're plugged in because of the location of the school. So they'll be coaching the teams in the art jam, and then there'll also be a quick draw event, which is a social casual drawing event where you can kind of go and meet other people that are interested in what you're interested in, that are drawing as well with you, and it's just more casual. There's no team project that you have to work on. So it's a series of events. I believe in total it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events, I would say. So you have access to all of that. Some of the webinars, I believe, are recorded, and you can watch those after the fact if you can't make it live. So you'll still be able to watch those. The social events, obviously, you have to attend live or you won't be able to attend. But yeah, that's basically what the activity pass is. It's the students enjoy it, so we thought we would offer it to the public. It's never been offered before this term, so it's a new thing.
Now, if you guys are interested in picking that up, you can get that just from their website, even if you don't want to enter the challenge, but you want to jump into those different events. Check that out. So I'm not trying to get too fancy with the lighting here. Just kind of like this white thing coming down. I don't know how long those are supposed to be. I mean, it looks really long in that photo. Anyway. I think we had some other questions. I'm not a student, but in the past did great artworks, but only when I was sad. What can I do to motivate myself without the depression that normally precedes my best artwork? I feel like there's a lot there that could actually be unpacked, but okay. Part of it just comes down to right word. There was a particular word I wanted to use, and it's completely lost it. I guess I would start first by you just having answered this, because I don't know what the answer to this is. That I accidentally move a layer because that doesn't look right. I mean, first, if I was you, I'd have to ask, like, why is it that you could only do the artwork when you're in a certain emotional state? And is there a healthier way to arrive at being, inspired? But then I would also have to challenge you that inspiration makes for a very bad catalyst for art. The emotion of feeling inspired is a bad catalyst for art, because it's so flippant. It's so, here, gone, sort of random. So what you want to do is start learning how to be able to creativity, how to be self-motivating, how to be more, I would say, professional. Really, it comes down to some artistic maturity of recognizing the steps involved, and that if you are working using a certain system, then it's going to consistently give you certain results, and that you can just rely on that. Let me think about that for a minute. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
Well, I would say that that kind of inspiration really only produces a certain type of work.
No,
And it's
yeah.
not a usable type of work. It's an emotional work. It's a sad work. It's an interpretive work.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I think. I think that what you're talking about, like that sadness, doesn't produce, nice orthographic drawings of buildings. You know what I mean? It doesn't produce clean T-poses. It produces, interpretive, kind of symbolic pieces, or kind of half-baked illustrations. Generally, in my experience, I don't know about your situation, but you can't rely on that for regular work. Like to me, to produce that regular work, you have to actually be in a good state of mind, in a healthy state of mind.
That's a good point. Let's run from that for a second. And that is, there's a difference between doing artwork as kind of a therapeutic response, that I'm feeling a particular way, and in order for me to kind of process through these emotions, I'm going to draw this thing, and it's going to help me, work through that and bring define what I'm going through, right? That's one thing. That's not how you do an illustrative job. That's not how you become an illustrator. Because being an illustrator, or comic book artist, or whatever variety you're talking about, that's a trade skill, and that's very different than like an emotional outlet, right? So I would really start by wanting to educate yourself on what that looks like, the trade skill. How do you, what do you need to learn? How do you learn the fundamentals? And I think when you do that, that's going to help. But going also off of what Diana is saying is they have very different purposes, and usually super emotionally fueled images are very relevant to you, but almost not at all relevant to anyone else. And they have almost no utility within the industry or what would pay somebody. So I think that what you'd have to start doing is recognizing that there's two very different kinds of art that you create. One that you do as just an emotional response, and then one is what you do where you are actively recognizing this as a trade skill and you're improving your skills and you are learning the systems of how to do this craft. Okay, I don't know where I am on this.
Oh, my art station is just my name, Diana Van Damme. So, yeah, can check it. I have not updated it really frequently in many moons because like I said, I don't do freelance really anymore. I just make artwork for the school, for my classes, and that's pretty much the only art I make now is for educational purposes or demo purposes.
Who was it? It was I think it was NC Wythe who said, I only work when I'm inspired, and I see to it that I'm inspired Monday through Friday, starting at 9 a.m. till 5 p.m.
If you want to pay the bill, yeah. That's kind of a bit what it is. But it's also, I mean, honestly, it's just not reliable way to produce work, and it doesn't produce good work for other people. It just produces very personal work. Like Clint mentioned, it's not, the utility is really not there.
Oh, no, I was going to do that one different one. Hey, Anna, I appreciate you jumping in there and helping answer some of those questions and just moderating that chat.
We can't do split screen. Zoom doesn't allow for that. I'm sorry, guys. And also we don't know what we're doing technically. Like, we're just trying to make this stream work. You can't even imagine the struggle that it was this morning. So please forgive us.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we're not going to go a lot longer. We both have some class stuff that we have to prep for coming up. So maybe another 30 minutes max, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't stay here to finish this, even though it's fun and I like, just kind of freestyling, but we'll have to continue this another time.
Sounds like the industry might be emotionally dead. Why? Because we don't have to be in the middle of depression in order to draw.
No, we just cry in our off time, man. It's hard to draw good and cry at the same time. Like, you have to just pick one. Trust me, we are very sad. All artists go through habitual sad periods. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you want to do your own thing, right? There are people who just don't want to, they don't really want to do concept. They don't really want to illustrate other people's ideas. They don't really want to illustrate other people's concept. That's cool. You don't have to do that. You know, there's fan art. Fan art exists, like you mentioned there. You know, fan art is a thing, yeah, and you can make good money at fan art. You just have to do it really well. And you have to make, you know, lots of work. And that is definitely an option. I mean, these are different things, right? So we're talking about taking on clients who want you to do what they want you to do, not necessarily what's in your heart, right? They don't know what's in your heart and they're not really interested. They're making product. So, you know, I know that sounds cold and whatever, but it's just is what it is. You know, we don't make the rules. It's just who's willing to pay the bills, and what jobs can we get that we can actually enjoy, you know, and if we want kind of personal fulfillment in our work, then that's what personal work is for, in my view. You know, that's what drawings on your own time are for, is to get that emotional connection that you need, that you don't get from client work.
Yeah, some jobs you do for you, but you just want to do it. And then some jobs you do because that's your job. That's how you make money and pay the bills. Now, maybe you have an outside income, right? Maybe you have another job, another full-time job, or maybe your partner makes enough money and you don't have to. And then you can just do whatever you want for art. I mean, if that's what you do, go for it. I mean, I don't have any issues against that. But we're talking about just commercial illustration, the employment as being either a commercial illustrator or being a commercial concept artist. And in that case, you really just can't wait for inspiration. You got to be, you've got to be more reliable to your employer than that. Blackbirds getting baked in a pie, paranoia set in, and they all began to fly. Scared the nun, who wasn't in the habit to sing, screeched so loud the bird's ears began to ring. I don't know what that has to do with my cobbler, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
That was a nod for me. Thank you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you're so right. Awesome. You're right. Yeah. Making a living is not about just working when you're inspired, because that can be whenever, right? It's just trying to find some joy in the process of the work that you are doing. You know, like you can really take care and care about the work that you're doing, the process, doing the best possible work you can do, no matter what the assignment is. Every gig you get is a chance to shine. But there's people who don't treat it like that. Like they treat some gigs, like they think some gigs are going to be magical and awesome, and some are just crap and they're not worth your time. But it's really about you, right? Like, how much do you care? How much are you willing to make everything that you do great? It's more about that than I want to feel an emotional connection to every single thing I draw. Well, okay. You know, that's what maybe fine art is for, or people who create their own IPs, like you can do that. But I guess everyone looks at it a little bit differently.
It seems that maybe first step to making a living as an artist is to not work under inspiration only, enjoying the draftsmanship and not the message of the piece. Yeah, Now, that'd be one way to say it. That's part of it. But I guess for me, like, I just kind of enjoy drawing itself. I just kind of like enjoy the process. So I'm inspired to draw. I can make myself inspired to draw because I just like to draw. And not, I don't really draw out of this emotional, whatever my emotional state is. Not all letters. Many artists say that they experience burnout. Could that be that they are a type of person who has to get inspired to experience burnout ever? Yeah, definitely experienced burnout. I think any artist that's been working for any number of years probably has. And for me, that I usually start to experience burnout when I've just got too many projects going on. They just start piling up. One commission is running long, and then it runs into another commission, and then you're trying to work on both of them simultaneously, and then that one starts running long because you didn't have enough time, and then you start getting this domino effect, and 3, 4, 5 months later, you just start getting burned out because you're constantly under deadline pressure, and it's just taking up all of your energy and stuff. Or if you're just having to generate so many concepts, I've heard some concept artists talking about it, that working as a concept artist on different projects, they were just having to come out with new ideas on a daily basis, just new ideas at such a rate that after a while they just got burned out. Their brain just was getting really tired of having to process and generate new stuff at such a speed. And then there's really no way around just needing some time off. Your brain just needs a chance to go chillax for a while and pick up some more new influences and emotionally kind of recenter. Hey guys, could you expand on how you set off your careers and how did you get your first gig? My first gig, I could probably show you an image I've got. I came across a picture of it. Hang on. It's an actual photo. I have to go grab it. Okay, so back when I was a teen, I was doing a bunch of local art contests, and somebody saw my piece and they were like, hey, would you illustrate something for me? And so I did. This guy, he's a cutie. So yeah, it was a pastel, soft pastel piece of this lady's dog, and who had this odd way of sitting with his back legs inside of his front legs. Curious. But that was just, getting involved in some contests, and people saw your stuff, and then one person did that like for them, and then somebody that they knew told them about me, and then I ended up doing some portraits for their kids. Then it went that way for a while. But for why don't you share your screen for a bit?
Oh,
For
it's so messy, but okay. Everybody, I'm not as clean as Clint with my sketches. So it's just kind of a mess right now.
but as far as I would say like digital painting illustration, I picked up a number of just little projects from like DeviantArt. I mean, I think that was the main one 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. ArtStation wasn't around. Even CG Hub, I think, was the one prior to that, and they weren't there. Picked up a number for that, just on in random book cover pieces and like German board games and stuff. The first major one I got was with Magic, and that's just, I sent my portfolio to them and they accepted it. I don't know that that portfolio would be enough for me to get a job there nowadays. I feel like the quality has gone up, but then I started working for Magic for a while, and after I started publishing my Magic pieces that I was doing, that was enough for me to really start getting movement from other people. And why is that not letting me change that? And then it was a lot easier for me to get gigs on other projects once people had seen that I had some Magic stuff. So that was one of my biggest break, was with them. What about you, Diana? How was it when you were getting started, and how did you get your first gigs?
Gosh, you know what? It was at the beginning, it really was a lot of people that I knew. So that hired me when I was fresh out of school. So I remember, like, I honestly think my first gig was designing tickets. I designed these tickets with an illustration of a leprechaun for a St. Patrick's Day party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so it was like an illustration of a character holding like I don't know if it was one or two beer mugs. I can't remember. And this was printed on all the tickets and on the poster for the event, and that was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. And then I did a lot of like commissions on Twitter. I did posters for different people that knew me from college, that had gone to the same school, like alumni from my college that kind of met through my professors. And so that started, or that continued for a while, and that was really what gave me experience. And then my first fantasy art gig, I'm trying to think about it now. What was it really? I did a couple of Kickstarter books. I don't know if it was one or two, I don't remember, with this company. I don't actually know if they're still around. Maybe they are, Bone Shaker Press. And there were a few of us in those days that I think were just kind of in the beginnings, like Justin Donaldson and Jessica Levy and a few of us that were in that book. Or I honestly can't remember if I was in one or two of them. I for sure was in one. I don't know if I was in the other one. Can't remember. And that kind of opened up the fantasy illustration stuff. And then I did a couple of projects that never saw the light of day, unfortunately. And then I did some card art for Hex online. And then shortly after that, I was published in Imagine Effects, and I continued to do commissions for people because I just enjoyed it. I really liked portraiture, so I did a lot of that. And characters for people. illustration just for individuals, and really nice to work with, and just people I had relationships with from online, like that I already knew kind of through the fantasy art scene. I did do concept for a children's game company, concept art. And then I was focusing a lot on portraiture and figure art, and I got hired to start teaching at the school, and then one thing kind of led to the next, and I got really plugged into kind of the Montreal art scene, concept art in particular, although that was never really my specialty, but now I kind of find myself here. So it was kind of one thing leads to another, but the whole thing about getting jobs through your college professors, and that it's really a major reason I think a lot of people go to college. It's just for that, for the networking. The skills I got from school I didn't learn much that's relevant to what I do now. But it was really, I guess the networking was useful at the time, and kind of getting some insight into, what my options were as far as art.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it starts with friends and family, right? Like, isn't everyone start that way?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I suppose the first time anyone actually gave me any money to an art piece was just like my childhood friend who had me like draw this Mario character for $5. But yeah, so that's usually where
Okay,
it starts.
all right, that counts. But yeah, you start small, and basically with a lot of people, what I've seen too is like, are you willing to take those crappy gigs in the beginning? Like, if you don't have anything else going on, then yeah, I took every gig for a while. I was just like, I'm not turning any of these down. And then eventually, it was more selective, but you have to hustle a little bit in the beginning. How many years do you need to be in college? You need 0 years in college.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't gone, to be honest with you. But why is this not painting properly? Yeah, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have gone. And this is not a plug or anything, but when I was looking around, for art schools, places to go to kind of get some guidance, Sin Studio didn't really exist. So the school I work at now didn't really exist. There's definitely no diploma program to go into in those days. And I was in central Canada living there, and there weren't many options, and I didn't want to move. So I just went to a small college and did my best with the program they had, which really wasn't really what I wanted, but I took it anyway. And then I would say you don't need it. You can like, now there's so many options, right? You can go to an online school, you can do mentorships, you can do self-study. Like, Clint has so many great materials, educational content that you can, if you're a disciplined person, you can do self-study. You don't need to go to college to do this. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, college was definitely the way to do it. Different universities and ateliers and stuff for a long time, because that was the best way. That was the best and almost only way to get access to teachers who knew this stuff, to learn these skills. But that simply just isn't the case anymore. That's not the only way to get access to this material or teaching anymore. So to think that that's what you have to do, going forwards, just wouldn't be accurate.
No.
So, and definitely be checking into other options. I'm with you. If I had to do it all over again, I mean, I wouldn't go to an art college. I could probably find the same thing online, get mentorships. You could probably learn the same thing faster and cheaper than going to a big college. That said, I mean, if you have the excess money to go to, one of the better ones, if you're going to go to an art college, don't go to an average one. There's only a handful even worth considering, like Art Center out in California produces some really good students. I think the Rhode Island, I think, does as well. But you're talking
Yes, they do. Yeah.
about, I mean, you're going to come out of there with some pretty massive student loans unless you can cash flow a lot of expense. And most illustrators for years and years are not going to make the kind of income that would justify having those kinds of student loans. I'm just against kind of student loans in general. So yeah, a lot of other good options out there to choose from.
Just gonna add a note here for myself for striped socks. Adds a little something extra,
There you go.
Some dirt on the apron. I could go on and on. Like this is why I can never finish pieces on, in one sitting. Anyone that's in here that's been my student knows that I never finish in one sitting. So these things take time, but you can kind of get the gist of where it's going, right? I hope.
Yeah. One day illustrations always take a week. That's just the way that they work.
Do you want to oh no, actually I don't want to see your cobbler because it's probably like done already and then you'll make me look bad. So
Well, I haven't finished my signature. Give me a second.
Oh, great. That is just great. Yeah, with the global audience possible to reach online, feels like there are many more options than traditional commercial artists. Yeah. There's like I tell my students, there's so many options nowadays that Clint, do you want to screen share? Because it's just our faces. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, no, that's right. You turned to yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I did. It's not going to be done. Not going to be done. Oh my gosh, that's like practically done. Jeez.
Practically done. It's barely blocked in.
Guy is so fast. Anyway. Yeah, there are a lot of options now. And if you don't want to work for a big studio, you don't have to. If you want to do your own thing, right? You want to do, like someone was saying earlier, work that's meaningful to you. You can create your own IP. There's all these people doing that on like those webcomic sites. They're just making their own stories. I mean, you really have to put in the effort and be doing that stuff regularly, like producing work weekly for people to stick with you and pay you for that. But you can do that. Like there's people just doing their own thing. I've seen these social media artists that are just, they only draw what's interesting to them, but they do it well and they produce a lot of work and they're making art books, they're making tutorials. It's like you need to really commit to that path. So a lot of people don't want to do that. They want a sure thing and they want to work in a studio and they want that paycheck coming in biweekly. That is fine too. If that's what you want to do, then you have to reach a certain level in your skill set to get those jobs. So that's a lot of options. Like you don't have to do the 9 to 5. You don't have to be a freelancer. You can.
But I mean, I'm gonna ponytail. Pigtail.
That's what children have.
Yes, that's not what I'm talking about at all. Dovetail. That's what I'm looking for. Dovetail. Off of that, any direction that you go, it's discipline. Either you have to be disciplined to show up 9 to 5 at your studio job, or you have to be disciplined and say, I want to do my own thing. Okay, do your own thing. But again, you've got to be disciplined enough that you're putting out new content on almost a daily basis on multiple social media platforms. You better be, you know, getting dialogue going with your people, answering questions, you know, joking around with them, being involved in their comments and all that. And I mean, I heard a comment, I can't remember who originally said this, but I need to double this because yeah, there we go. Oh, wait, did it just? Oh, okay, I see what it did. Okay. No. It was not fully opaque. That was throwing me off. Yeah, so you either have to be disciplined enough to do the traditional work in the way that the studios need it done, or you've got to be disciplined enough in order to do your own stuff, but it has to be regimented and on schedule, and you've got to be all into that. The one most accurate defining characteristic of someone who will succeed is discipline. That is the greatest indicator that you will succeed in anything. It's not that you're naturally the best or that you have even the best teachers or whatever, or you're the most disciplined in it. But, yeah, it's just something good to keep in mind about anything if you're looking at results. Trying to dirty it up a little bit. One of the things that is easy to do with leather is just make it too clean. So I'm trying to come in here, even early on. I'm not trying to get too detaily with it, but getting some scratches and some wear on it, make it feel a little more used. And just getting a little of that texture in there. Oh, okay. I've got to be wrapping up the stream. I got to get somewhere within the next hour. So let's kind of start winding stuff up here. I feel like this is coming along. I'm having fun with this guy. I might come back later at some point. Maybe we hold another stream and we can play with these more. It has been so good having everybody join in the stream today. Really good questions. We appreciate lots of good questions. Keeps the conversation from getting stale, just hearing Diana and I mutter along about what we're drawing. So that's good. Diana, it's fun. I'm glad you could join the stream. And I am interested to see what you're going to be doing with your cook next time.
Yeah, I have to think it through. I'm just kind of spitballing with the colors, but I have to actually spend some time thinking about it and trying out some different combinations to see what looks right. As you guys can see, I'm a little bit messier than Clint. He's really, really clean with everything. And I just like to kind of get my ideas out fast, even if they're super messy, and then I kind of reverse engineer and clean it up backwards. But his way is better. I will say that. It's just
my way is like this. Do something that looks decent and then trust in the fact that I can render it to look better. Yeah.
Yeah, just do that. Just draw it so it looks decent and then render it so it looks better, right? There's nothing else to it.
Trust in my rendering skills over spending more time drawing it.
Yeah, I wish we had more time, but I do have to get to my school duties.
Yes.
So I guess we'll do this
in 2 weeks.
To announce the winners. And we'll showcase, the artwork that people submitted on that stream. show
Yep.
everybody what was submitted, and then we'll contact the winners, wait for the winners to contact us when we announce them, I suppose.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks to my lovely students who came by to show support. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Also, special shout out to tech support on this, who
Yes.
literally made this live stream happen because I could not
Yes.
figure out what was
Thank
going
you,
on.
Jules. We would have been in like a world of hurt without you. So
All right, guys. Well, in 2 weeks, another live stream. Until then, keep drawing.